Well, hi everybody, my name is Robert and I'm the founder of Shameless Care, and today I'm going to tell you why everyone, including doctors, need to stop using the phrase oral herpes and genital herpes. And no, this is not another woke video on YouTube. It has nothing to do with that. It has to do with data. So let's go ahead and get into it. Now, if you're not familiar, there are two types of herpes simplex virus. There's herpes simplex virus type 1 and type 2. And now historically, people have called type 1 oral herpes. And historically, people have called type 2 genital herpes. But that data has completely changed. So let's go ahead and look at the data. Now, over the past 30 years, there has been a 30% decrease in the number of children contracting HSV-1 as children. And of course, although HSV-1 can be spread sexually, it can also be spread in lots of other ways, like an innocent kiss from grandma on a newborn baby. Perhaps grandma doesn't know that that cold sore is a type of herpes virus, gives that sweet baby a kiss, and now that baby has a lifelong herpes infection. Not a big deal, but it's less common today than it used to be. And that's good. Cold sores are not fun, and nobody wants a lifelong condition that they have to disclose to people and things like that, or potentially spread to other people. But there is a downside, because as there's been fewer children reaching adulthood with cold sores, they are susceptible to developing HSV-1 genitally through oral sex as adults. Because you see, you can have HSV type 1 and you can have HSV type 2, and you can even have both types of HSV at the same time. But what you can't have is the same type in multiple locations. So if you have HSV type 1 orally, you're not also going to get HSV-1 genitally. And I'm sure you can see where this is going. Again, many children used to be raised with HSV-1 orally, and because of that, they could never get it genitally. But because there are fewer children with HSV-1 when they reach sexual maturity, they are now quite susceptible to HSV-1 through oral sex. So someone with a cold sore performs oral sex on them as adults, and there you go. Now they have genital herpes, except instead of it being HSV type 2, it's HSV type 1. Let's look at a couple of recent studies. In a study of college students in the United States, the percentage of genital herpes contributed to HSV type 1 as opposed to HSV type 2 increased from 31% in 1993 to 78% in 2001. And a cohort study reported that nearly 60% of new genital herpes cases were attributed to HSV-1. And this is why we must stop calling HSV-1 oral herpes and HSV-2 genital herpes. So why does it matter why we call it? Well, if someone tests positive for HSV-2 in a blood antibody test, for example, a blood antibody test does indicate whether the person is infected or not, but does not indicate the location. And a physician says to that person, "You've tested positive for genital herpes," well, that's just confusing. Maybe the person doesn't have genital herpes, maybe they have oral herpes. Because as I've said before, HSV-1 and HSV-2 can infect either location. And so just simply calling it HSV type 1 or HSV type 2 just makes more sense. And a doctor in that case can say, "You've tested positive for HSV-2. Have you ever had any cold sores or sores on your genitals?" And just start the conversation that way. It's also much more helpful from a safe sex conversation point of view. I recently saw a dating profile on Field, and if you're not familiar with Field, it is an app for the consensual non-monogamy community. And this person said, "I have GHSV type 1. And what they were saying is they have genital herpes simplex virus type 1. Now that is such better information than just saying that they have genital herpes, and here's why. If somebody else already has HSV type 1, well, they know that they could have sex with this person and not have to worry about contracting their herpes because they have the same kind of herpes already. Had that person just said, "I have genital herpes," well, that would have just added confusion to the situation, and it's really impossible to have these sort of upfront safe sex conversations. So I hope you agree with me now that we need to stop calling HSV type 2 genital herpes and HSV type 1 oral herpes, because it just doesn't even make sense anymore. The entire thing is flipped. More cases than not anymore, according to studies, of HSV type 1 are now genital herpes. So if you learned anything, be sure to give us a like and a subscribe. We're going to be pumping out this content continuously. If you'd like to get smarter about sex and safe sex in particular, please give us a like and follow. Until next time, I'm Robert from Shameless Care. Thank you.